G'day, Anthony Ross here, and welcome to day 6 of our video series where I'm focusing on the most common mistakes that I see coaches make when trying to help players develop mental fitness. And today, the mistake is that coaches tend to encourage the control of difficult internal experiences throughout matches. So difficult emotions and unintentional thoughts that show up throughout competition, nerves, frustration, outcome thoughts, worries, self-judgments, and so forth. And this is a bit of a weird one because really sports psychology as a field, this has been something that over time sports psychology has recommended. And it's certainly when I was coming up as a player and a coach and even as a psychologist, this was something that I was recommended to do. But ultimately, this does not lead to helping players develop mental fitness over the long term. And the reason for this is that, first of all, in a lot of cases, trying to control emotions, trying to control these unintentional thoughts that show up as we compete doesn't work. I mean, in a lot of situations during matches, players, if we talk honestly to them, they will report that they can't do it. Now, sometimes I do talk to coaches and say, you know what, I can control these outcome thoughts. For example, I can change these thoughts and control them. I can do things that reduce anxiety and so forth. And that is certainly the case in the short term, but we need to also take a long-term perspective to this. And the other important question to reflect on here is, even if in some circumstances we can work with our players in a way that they have some control over their emotions and the unintentional thoughts that show up throughout matches, we need to ask the question is, what effect is this going to have on their perspective and their competitive ability in the long term? And the big thing here is that with this communication style, when we encourage this, we are basically communicating to our players that you need to feel good to be able to play good, as a very basic understanding, or you need to get these more helpful states to be able to take the actions that increase the chance of success. And in the long term, very simply, this is disastrous for effectiveness of competing, because as soon as we have players who feel this sense that they've got to get a state, they've got to get a certain feeling, they've got to get positive thoughts to be able to put their attention on the helpful process and go out and actually commit to it, they're sort of screwed. Because the reality is, a lot of times, especially when they most want to get these feelings, they won't be able to get them. It's a reality of competing in competition. So the flip to this, and my advice on this, is instead of communicating around these ideas of control, we want to help our players develop more acceptance of these difficult internal experiences and skill them to be able to respond better to these experiences, so they can still commit to something helpful even when they're feeling when they don't have the feelings that they want, that they don't have the thoughts that they want. This is an absolutely crucial understanding. It's been so helpful for me as I've slowly progressed from one end of the scale to the other end of the scale, working with players and coaches on this one. And it's one that I would absolutely encourage you to start to reflect on and explore and play with when you're working with your players, because ultimately the players that compete best and are the mentally toughest over time are the ones that are most okay and try the littlest to reduce or control the difficult internal experiences. They're the ones that are most skilled and fittest at being able to have difficult thoughts and feelings, but still commit to the actions that they want to, that increase the chance of success. So I hope you find this one helpful. You'll see a link on this page. We're getting ready to start our coach professional development class. First 5 days of that is going to be free, so you'll have the opportunity to take part in the class, see what you think, and then after 5 days we'll be charging for the rest of the class. So check that out. I'll be back tomorrow for our 7th Common Coach mistake when it comes to developing mental fitness. Cheers.